65 fireplaces once roared through Biltmore's endless halls, each one essential, every mantel a $10,000 masterpiece. But behind the marble, it took 90 hours of daily labor and 500 tons of coal per winter just to keep the cold out. Within a few decades, nearly every fireplace palace fell, overrun by a single basement boiler and a silent thermostat. So, how did technology erase this empire of fire, and what vanished with it? Step inside a Gilded Age mansion, and the numbers tell the story. At Biltmore, 65 fireplaces dotted the floor plan, one for nearly every corner of its 175,000 square feet. The Breakers, with its 70 rooms, counted 27 working hearths, each one carved from imported stone or marble. Even cottages like Marble House demanded 18 fireplaces to keep 50 rooms from freezing. Whitmarsh Hall, a sprawling estate now lost to history, boasted 42 fireplaces for its 147 rooms. The James J. Hill House in Minnesota, far north where winters bite hardest, relied on 22 fireplaces across 3 dozen rooms. No detail here was about extravagance for its own sake. In the era before central heating, every room was its own climate zone, sealed off from the drafty halls by heavy doors and thick walls. A sitting room without a working fireplace was a refrigerator by January. Bedrooms, libraries, billiard rooms, each required its own dedicated hearth just to be habitable. The logic was simple: one fireplace per room, or the room went unused for months. Floor plans from the 1890s reveal a kind of architectural math. Fireplaces mapped out like lifelines, their chimneys snaking through walls and floors. In Marble House, even the smallest guest suite had its own marble mantel and flue. At the Breakers, the kitchens and service wings included their own separate hearths for staff comfort. The result was a mansion that functioned like a patchwork of miniature cabins, each one demanding its share of heat. Inventory ledgers from estates show coal and wood allocations, tracked room by room, fireplace by fireplace. The need for so many hearths shaped not just the look of these homes, but their very structure. Every ornate mantel, every chimney stack rising above the roofline was a necessity, an answer to winter's challenge, and a sign of just how much labor and material it once took to keep luxury warm. Before the first rays of sunlight touched the marble floors, a different kind of work began below stairs. In the depths of every great house, teams of servants moved with silent urgency. Their job was to keep the fires alive. 4 to 6 men, sometimes more in the largest estates, spent their winters in a battle against the cold. Each morning they started at 4 o'clock, long before the family stirred. Ashes from the night before had to be shoveled out, grates scrubbed clean, and new fires built from scratch. For every one of the 30 or 40 fireplaces, this was a ritual that took 2 to 3 hours per hearth just to get ready for the day. Once the flames caught, their work only intensified. Every few hours, new coal or wood had to be carried in. Flames poked and coaxed, embers carefully banked to last until evening. The math was relentless. 30 fireplaces meant 60 to 90 hours of labor, every single day, just to keep the house warm. Payroll records from the era show these firemen earned a fraction of what a butler or chef made, but their work was constant and exhausting. For a mansion like Biltmore or the Breakers, the firemen were as essential as the stone itself. Without them, the grandest rooms would have stood empty and cold. Coal was the lifeblood of this system, and the logistics behind it were immense. Deliveries arrived by the wagon load, 2, sometimes 5 tons at a time, dumped into cellars that were the size of small houses. Biltmore even ran a dedicated railroad spur straight to its basement just for coal. Over the course of a single winter, a mansion could burn through 200 to 500 tons. That meant a steady stream of servants hauling buckets up from the cellar, shoveling coal into scuttles, and carrying it up flights of stairs to each waiting hearth. The cost was staggering, $2,000 to $5,000 a season, a sum that would reach $60,000 to $150,000 today. Every day, hundreds of pounds of ash had to be swept out, carted to basement pits, and hauled away by wagon. The air below stairs was thick with dust, the floors blackened by coal and soot. Servants' uniforms, once crisp and formal, quickly turned gray with the residue of their labor. The endless cycle of fueling, tending, and cleaning was the hidden engine that powered the warmth and comfort above. In these mansions, luxury was measured not just in marble and gold, but in the human and material cost of every glowing hearth. A single coal-fired boiler in the basement changed the entire equation. Instead of teams of servants racing from hearth to hearth, one machine could heat an entire mansion, no matter how many rooms or how thick the stone walls. At Biltmore, the original 1895 blueprints show a web of pipes snaking out from the boiler, feeding cast iron radiators in every corner of the house. Steam rose quietly through the system, delivering steady warmth to rooms that once demanded their own roaring fire. The process was simple but revolutionary. Coal was shoveled into the boiler, water was heated to steam, and that heat traveled through pipes to radiators where it gently warmed the air. Instead of hot spots and cold drafts, the temperature could be made even throughout the house. Curators describe Biltmore's basement as the mansion's central nervous system, a place where valves and gauges replaced the endless clatter of ash buckets. By the 1910s, some homes added early thermostatic controls, with bimetallic strips or mercury switches that could trigger the boiler to fire up or shut down, keeping temperatures surprisingly stable for the era. The difference was dramatic. Estate ledgers from the period show coal use dropping by as much as 40 to 60% compared to the old fireplace system. Labor shrank from dozens of daily hours to a single engineer monitoring dials and pressure. Out of Biltmore's original 65 fireplaces, only 8 would remain in regular use, mostly for show or special occasions. What once took an army of men and mountains of coal could now be managed by a single machine, quietly humming away beneath the marble floors. Today, those grand fireplaces linger as reminders of a world that no longer exists. The reality behind their survival is economic, not sentimental. Maintaining a single historic chimney can cost between $5,000 and $10,000 every few years, just for inspections, liners, and repairs required by modern codes. Multiply that by 20 or 30, and the upkeep alone can rival the original construction cost of an entire house. For private owners, insurance companies treat working fireplaces as a liability. Policies for historic mansions can increase by thousands of dollars per year if even one chimney is active. Some insurers refuse coverage unless every flue is sealed and certified. Fire risk, structural decay, and the threat of chimney fires make active use a gamble few are willing to take. Preservation budgets reflect these pressures. Curators and estate managers face a stark choice: operate 1 or 2 fireplaces for demonstration, or seal the rest behind decorative mantels. Most choose the latter. At many historic mansions, only a handful of hearths are ever lit, usually for special tours or holiday events. The rest become ornate shells, with plaster and marble hiding plywood, drywall, or steel plates where fire once burned. Ironically, the mantelpieces themselves have outlasted their original purpose. Antique mantels, especially those carved from marble or imported stone, now fetch $50,000 or more at auction. The value lies not in their function, but in their artistry and provenance. In the end, the fireplace survives as a symbol, a costly relic preserved for its beauty, not its heat. Today, a silent thermostat controls what once took armies of hands and mountains of coal. As our homes grow smarter and more efficient, luxuries become invisible, and so do the people and traditions they erase. Progress warms us, but it always leaves something cold behind. Thanks for watching.